Hello, my name is Grant Kramer, and I'm a professor at the University of Nevada, Reno. And today I will be talking to you about wine adjustments. After the fermentation of your wine is complete, there are many wine adjustments you can make to your wine to improve its quality. Probably one of the more common ones that we have here in Nevada or California, where we have warmer climates, is acidification. We can add tartaric acid to the wine to lower the pH because we have high pH wines in areas where there are warmer climates. We'd like to adjust that pH to about 3.6 or below. This will also improve its ability to fight against bacterial contamination. You can de-acidify a wine if you have too acidic a wine by adding calcium carbonate or using an ion exchange resin or using malolactic fermentation, which will convert the malic acid, which is the stronger, more tart acid, into lactic acid using a bacterial. This is a secondary fermentation technique. If the wine style you desire to make is a sweeter wine, then one can add sugar to the wine after the fermentation is complete. One could stop the fermentation before it's complete, but you could also add partial or unfermented grape juice to your wine to enhance the sweetness of the wine. Other flavor enhancement methods are using a heat treatment to remove the herbaceous character or flavor of a wine where the grapes were harvested too young and have a grassy or herbaceous character to them. One can add enzymes that help to break down the skin and pulp and cell walls that would perhaps release some flavor components into the wine that would normally not get extracted so well. And one can blend wines. You can reduce the alcohol in your wine. This is a common problem in areas that have very high temperatures because of the high sugar content. At the end of fermentation, you will have a high alcohol content, and high alcohol can be undesirable because it impacts the way the aromas and flavors are exhibited in the wine. One way to de-alcoholize the wine is by heating and evaporating the alcohol. Another is vacuum distillation, centrifugation, reverse osmosis, or simply add a little bit of water during fermentation, although there are limits to how much water one can add. Color can be affected as well. You have ultrafiltration that will impact color. You can add a compound called PVPP, which binds to the pigments and can cause them to precipitate out of the wine. Or you can use activated charcoal. And blending is one of the more common adjustments one can make. You can improve the acidity, the sugar, the flavor, the color, and the complexity of the wine simply by blending either large portions or very small portions of wines to have a big impact on the wine quality. This can also reduce off odors if you have them, and this is usually done in the following spring after the fermentation, before bottling. Oak is one of the most common adjustments made to wine. One commonly oaks wines in barrels by storing the wine in the oak barrel for a few months or years to add more oak flavors to the wine and modify the tannins in that wine. Or you can add oak adjuncts, which I'll go into a little bit more in a minute. Oak has certain flavors that can be added to the wine, such as vanilla, caramel, hazelnut, and that adds small amounts of those flavors to the wine. And it helps to soften the tannins and add complexity to the wine. There are multiple kinds of oak adjuncts, everything from cutting staves out of a barrel and placing them inside of a barrel or a tank to make it more like an oak barrel, but not quite as expensive as an oak barrel. Or you can use little cubes like in the bottom right-hand corner, which I happen to like, where you get good surface area and good extraction of the oak. But you can even use finer particles such as chips or even little dust to add oak quickly to a wine. Wine stabilization is an important adjustment to wine. It's very important that you allow the wine to clarify. So we do use racking to let the particles settle out of the wine by gravity. We could add egg whites to the wine, which will then settle down to the bottom. Once we rack the wine off, the egg whites will be left behind, but they will bind to some of the tannins in the wine, reducing the tannic structure of the wine. And you can use bentonite clay to reduce the little bit of protein that can cause a haze in the wine. And then there's filtration. You can filter the wine, a 3 micrometer filter to get a rough filtration, or you can get a sterilization filter at 0.45 to remove dust and microbes. An important adjustment is cold stabilization. This is particularly true for white wines, because if you put the white wine in your refrigerator, it's going to cause tartaric acid crystals to fall out of the wine and be at the bottom of the bottle, and this can be unsightly. Usually, what winemakers will do is they will chill the wines at a temperature of about 25 to 27 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 days to 2 weeks to precipitate these crystals so that they don't occur in your refrigerator. So as I mentioned, racking is the process of allowing debris, yeast particulates, and other precipitates to settle to the bottom of your fermentation vat. And then you transfer the clear wine to a separate container via siphon or pump action. If filtration is not used, then you will need at least several rackings over the course of several months to reach the desired clarity of your wine. Most widely used methods of filtration are plate and frame or depth filtration methods. In conjunction with pressure kegs in our experimental winery, we've used nitrogen gas as a pressure to force the wine through the filtration apparatus. This works very nicely because it reduces the exposure to oxygen, and 2, it reduces the use of mechanical pumps. It's faster than racking. However, it's more expensive. It also reduces the risk of spoilage during racking and removes the finer particulates that racking alone may not remove. There are different types of filters. As I mentioned, there is a 3 micrometer filter, which will remove residual yeast and must debris. There's also a 1 micrometer filter, which will remove bacteria and microbes. And then the 0.45 micrometer filter will remove dust and spores. However, I don't use that 0.45 micrometer filter for several reasons. One, they plug very quickly and easily. More importantly, I found that it stripped some of the color of the red wine. Now, the sales representatives to me said it doesn't do that, but I found for a fact that this is what happened. Okay, well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for my upcoming videos on other winemaking practices, fermentation, and sanitation in the winery.